Hello and welcome to the Music Survival Guide, the independent musician's guide on how to survive in the music industry. My name's Phil, a mixing and mastering engineer. I hope you're all doing well this wonderful, marvellous year. I'm recording in the middle of some kind of storm. Sounds horrible outside, which makes me all the more cosy to be inside, but there we go. This is actually the first episode that I'm recording in 2024. The rest have been recorded last year, but you didn't need to know that at all. Anyway, on to the topic at hand. I was thinking what to talk about this year. What would be a really good topic to kind of not begin the year with, because I know this episode is going out in February, but to kind of really kind of think about for the year ahead. And I thought about the power of kindness, and I think that's a really kind of fluffy kind of title, but it's actually really, really important. If you don't like the phrase the power of kindness, I'm going to say the opposite to that is just being a dick. So, take whichever title you want. I've given the nice PC one on the podcast title. I think being kind or being approachable or being nice, whatever word you want to use. I know nice is a bit of a kind of word as well. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. I know what I mean by that. I think it's really underrated, actually. I think it's a really underrated thing to be and place to be, especially in the music world, because there are loads and loads of people who you'll meet, and I'm sure you've met loads of them, in all sorts of areas of the music industry who just aren't kind and aren't nice. And I think you've got to bear in mind the most important thing about the music industry is it's people driven. So surely, they say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know and things like that. But more importantly, it's about how you treat those people that you know. Are you kind to them? Are you nice to them? Do you give time for these people or not? If you don't, you're probably making a mistake. In fact, no, I'm going to say it. You are making a mistake. So I'll give you a few different kind of arenas for this kind of thought process and how it might be applicable. Gigs. I mean, gigs is the big thing for bands. Gigs is the main thing. Let's be honest here. And being approachable at gigs and being kind at gigs is the most important thing, except for, performing your songs well and having good stage presence, things like that. It is the most important thing. The only way you are going to get more gigs on the back of the gig you are doing is by being approachable and by being kind. Let's face facts. Have you, bought a drink for some of the other bands or bought a drink for the promoter if they're there? Have you spent time chatting to the other bands? Are you watching the other bands? This is a really, really, really big thing, and it annoys a lot of people, and it kind of annoys me as well. Is if you're on the bill, make sure you're there watching the other bands on the bill. And maybe talk to them afterwards about what you thought about their set. Make sure it's positive. And if you can't stay, you've got a long drive to get home or whatever, then tell them and apologise, because that's kind of the polite thing to do. You know what I mean? Bands are there supporting each other. And you know what it's like? If you play an empty room, it can be disheartening. So make sure you're part of the solution to that in some small way. The other bands on the bill, make sure you're there for them. Make sure you're just, you're there to kind of support them and encourage them along. I think part of that is not running over on sets. It's so important for a promoter to make sure that the gig runs to time. And some promoters, let's be honest, are better than others at judging how long to leave for a set kind of handover, how many bands to put on a bill to get the right kind of timings, these things. Some are better than others. I'm not giving names here. It's not that kind of podcast. But it's really important to help the promoter however you can. So if the promoter is given, say, 20-minute handover, 15-minute handover for bands, if possible, unless they've set a too short a transition, set up and get ready within that time frame if possible. Help the other band to pack down, the other band before you to pack down if you can, to help that transition. And then again, at the other end of your set, make sure you pack down, unless you're the last band, make sure you pack down as quickly as possible, whip your stuff off the stage, get it off, then pack it away. That's the better way to do it. That is the quicker way to do it, and it's the way that is going to make you look better in the eyes of the promoter and get more gigs on the back of it. I think a big thing for bands is set times. So obviously you'll be told, you have a half an hour set for this gig, whatever it may be. if, say, the band before you has run over and the gig's starting to run late, consider shortening your set in order to make the gig run on time again. And I know that's annoying, and I know, you know, come all this way and you're playing one song less, and may even be like 5 minutes less than a half an hour set, whatever it may be. But that promoter will see you in such a good light. They will see you in such a good light that you will probably get invited back. And ultimately, more gigs is probably what you want out of this scenario, as well as making fans and having a good gig, don't get me wrong. But more gigs is kind of what you want. You know, there's lots of bands out there. Please don't forget, there's lots of bands out there struggling to find gigs. So if you found your way into a little group, a little community, a promoter, whatever it may be, make sure you stay there if you can. On the complete and utter opposite side of the chain, recording studios. Being a good being a good person in the studio is really, really, really important. Really, 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 really important. I know that the recording studio can be really tiring and sometimes really quite boring. Let's be honest. I think the worst possible thing that you can do is disengage from the process or even criticize the process. So if you're doing it, say, one instrument at a time, one band member at a time, you know, there's only going to be a certain portion of the day where you really have to pay attention. So obviously you can slightly tune out a bit. Don't get me wrong, you can. But if you've got an opinion and it's, you know, it's a general kind of discussion time, make sure it's voiced, but do it in the right way. Do it in the right way. Make sure you're listening to what's happening, and then you're able to intelligently comment on what is going on. Don't just sit there on your phone, disengage from the whole thing, and then when, you know, there's a bit of time for discussion, bring up some spurious point that because you're only half paying attention, you're not really sure if it's happening or not. That's not helpful. That's not good, and no one is going to appreciate you in that moment. So be a good hang in the studio. It's a big, big thing. Studio days are long. Studio days are tiring. Studio days can be quite high stress, so don't be a dick. That is the time to say don't be a dick. And finally, I think it's quite a general point, getting on with bandmates. You know what I mean? You're in a band, you're in say with a group of 2 to 7 or 8 if you're Slipknot, band members, and that's quite a select group of people who you're spending a lot of time with. You may be spending a long time in a band van, for example, together. That could be cause, and often is in real life, cause for a lot of arguments. Make sure you get on with your bandmates. Crazy idea. Make sure you get on with your bandmates. Understand each other if you can. You know, if one of you, like me, is a massive introvert and you just need that time to recharge, make sure you give that band member in your band time to recharge. Or if you are that person yourself, make sure you take that time to recharge so that you are a nice person. It's really, really important to avoid band arguments. Just make sure you understand each other, know what each other needs and what each other's kind of flow is when it comes to energy levels and kind of enthusiasm for things, and make sure you work together on that kind of thing. Really important, probably the most important thing for band longevity. So that's all my thoughts on kindness, really, and not being a dick and niceness and whatever you want to call it. A myriad of things. Being kind. Yay. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Music Survival Guide. If you liked it, then please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen to it. It all helps the algorithm, you know, the backroom things. Please do share it with any friends and bandmates if you thought it was useful, interesting information, tidbits, things to take away, things like that. If you're thinking about recording or mixing, I want to talk about it, feel free to reach out to me via my links in the podcast description below. We can have a conversation about it, and I will see you next time.